on. Can I turn 1 second? There's something wrong here. Huh?
It's there. Oops.
Oh, okay. Hold on, that doesn't work either. Is
Yes,
this? Yes, okay.
that's the one. Hello, dear.
Hey, dears, how are you?
Good. How about you? How is it going?
I'm okay. I just arrived back in Europe yesterday,
Mm.
so was
Was
very,
that?
I mean, it was really intense, but also really important for me to go. Wait, I'm trying to make it that I can see both of you. I'm on my phone today, sorry, but is there a way that I can see both of you on the phone?
If you press one of the, I think it's
I
you.
got it. I got it. I got it. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's really intense, huh? I was like, I mean, it was intense on all kinds of levels.
Mm.
But also, yeah, I don't know if you heard in the news, but there was also these bombs fired on basically different areas of Tel Aviv, and I was like I was in the car and very close when it happened, so it was a really scary moment also.
Oh, oh.
But I mean, the whole situation is like really intense.
Wow.
So, but still, it felt really important to go and get our own feeling because I think what people don't understand here is that there's many, many people in Israel. I mean, more than half that are completely against this war and that are like demonstrating and trying to, you know, um, yeah, trying to
Yeah.
change the government and end this madness, you know.
Mm.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, most of the friends, like Israeli friends, I mean, living, most of my friends from Israel are living outside Israel, but still, like, I see that view. Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And how are you guys?
Good.
Good. Yeah.
Good?
Preparing. I'm going tomorrow to Holland. So yeah.
To
Uh,
see my supervisor.
to see your supervisor. Ah, yeah, Nuno will be there. No, I will meet Nuno now to supervisor,
It's
which
a
Oh,
is
wow.
conference.
we are friends all of us. But so I'm gonna meet Nuno.
Nice.
Yeah,
And
and
I'm gonna be, warming the space in our school while he's absent.
Where is your school now, Joe?
It's in Estonia, Tallinn University.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you really live there. I didn't know that.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you been going to Masya?
It's in my list. It's it's not planned yet. Yeah,
Mm, you should go. It's amazing.
yeah, yeah.
It's a really nice place also to work.
yeah. Maybe this summer I should plan that. That
It's
would make
beautiful
sense.
also. It's really close to the sea. Now it's already beautiful, like there. It's close to the sea and the swamps has really beautiful nature there.
I see. And actually, that's kind of like a entry point to the topic today because
Exactly.
there's there's like a lot of cross section.
How did you guys have time to read the text?
Yeah. Yes, yes.
Yeah, I actually quickly went through the whole book. It was it was
No,
a
so
lot.
like I just scanned through the whole thing. Download it.
Yeah, installing on my brain.
What do you wanna resonate?
Yeah, it's I don't know how we started because because Jorge and I we've been already talking a little bit about the content and yeah, it's to me it's the first time I read the book, but I can see that a lot of things I hear is probably like coming from that idea. Like I actually like before starting the best practices. I was really into like using like weaving for my projects. I've done some like weaving with my hand. Um, so, and I think that's coming from this whole ideas. And now actually I'm doing sauerkraut at home because
Mm-hmm.
I remember there's a chapter about the bacteria, and I was like, yeah, yeah. Now I see everything's like kind of
Now
intertwined.
that's really high tech stuff.
Totally, yeah, yeah. It's like outsourcing your digestion system.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
it's a cyborg. Yeah, it's true. I didn't think of that way.
But did you find it like useful like to because last time like I think we kind of like left it off to really also tackle the question of like technology and your relationship or to complexify this relationship to technology in your work and did you find it helpful?
Yeah, me too. That and also, sorry, like, do you mind to post the link here of the document we have been working
Yeah,
together with Dani?
I'm there already. So yeah, it's more for like for our archive. So
Okay.
yeah, I can also share it in the WhatsApp later, so you can just go through if you want to like comment
Okay.
or But
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, from my side, I see. Wait, let me try to go through. So I read the intro and part of Ada, and then the cocoons, and I give it some time to, and then I read again the cocoons, and then let me see that. I think one thing that like I would like to introduce now is this idea of um the pace of how in the chapter of cocoons they were emphasizing this idea so that the pace of how things are becoming to are not necessarily the way how we perceive technology or how we perceive uh yeah revolutions of different aspects that like say like the materiality of how things come to be and how I guess what people perceive is not necessarily the pace how this is being done. So there is not a really a linear way of following this, although I mean, that's part of the history that we're being told, or we are part of this speed on acceleration. And that is, I found that interesting because I'm interested in to find space to think or to feel when working with these technical elements. So in questioning the pace and the relation of productivity time. So that was something that
Mm-hmm.
struck to me the most.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. I mean, yeah, maybe I can just share all of them. Although, yeah, so bear with me, there are a bit notes. So I guess in that idea also, so this idea of becoming the queer aspect of engineering. So not this emphasis not necessarily in theories, but more in staying in the problem and to not separating the engineer from the entanglement within their machines. That was something also that resonates to me. They were saying in some sentence at some point that um, in art and in science, you can separate the art and the scientists from their tools, and still you can do this theory approach. While with an engineer, the exercise is entangled with their machines.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Something that I guess was more political, but was in like the introduction, like the I guess I put it in my notes as a when Ada was saying that she was basically not so interested in the recognition as such, and they just use a pseudonym for that. So that's something that it also stays with me. I guess that's, yeah, somewhere. Um, Patient, motion, effort, scope on the practice. Okay. Yeah, this is, I guess, something that is more internal already when we start speaking with out about this idea of, I mean, or the problem that we have in the place that we are right now is that is a performance, the framework where we are working, but the base is a practice. So in the practice, as we mentioned the last week, and then uh, part of I guess of the success of the practice, you can say it, is that it was decoupled from success at some point. So the failing just opening up the possibilities. And then we have been talking sometimes with Naoto and so what is this performance and how to then tackle, or what does it mean, like the performance, like do we want to succeed with the performance, or how to define success in what is that the performance, what is the function of the performance. Yeah, that's something that I also put, I guess, in my reflections to going through different parts of the text, to redefine, so to decouple success from uh, from the performance. And I guess this is situated because the way how we deploy is Slovenia is that part of what we were working, so we have this, so we have the grant, but part of that was the tour, but the tour was to be defined based on material that we should have finished by then. I mean, somehow, yeah, some, like the way how normally the program was followed, is that we are supposed to finish our production by February, but because we have different problems, we now have to do 1 month of the production in August. So the material has to be delivered for to consult with some jury by February.
Sorry, by
So
February 2025.
no, 24, like, so
24. Okay.
yeah, that's the way how we deliver, and it was like a puzzle of these things that in a way is residence and then the tour are two different organisms.
Mm-hmm.
So then by so now we are, wait, I'm getting lost. So the the material that we have delivered in February was to be judged, and upon that we will have a confirmation or not if we can do the tour. So
Mm-hmm.
uh, the work that we did in February was very rushed, and it was trying to perform to be selected. So
Mm-hmm.
we are trying to, I mean, I'm saying this because I think we are trying to succeed in that idea. We were trying to be selected for the tour. But now we are in that, so now we have to, I mean, I guess I share also this into the space that part of the way how we develop is just we trust uh, each other. And also maybe it's relevant to mention at this point, like the framework was for a couple, so an artist and a technician. So um and in the practice with Naoto, as we mentioned, we work in a non-hierarchical way. And so I guess we both have both roles. But for the application, for instance, we say like, so I'm the artist and now to the technologist. This is just to feel like this is normally how is the framework. These are the roles, how they see it, and I don't know until what extent they qualify these things. But in what it happens in Ljubljana, then in 2 weeks, then we have to rush to deploy things. And often, so then I guess we were just trying to support each other. And often so I proposed things in terms of form, how to create form, but I mentioned that I was not completely sure of why I was proposing that. So I guess I was acting just by intuition based off my information on the field, but there was not too much space to reflect. And I was also conflicted, like, but there was no time to reflect what we were doing. Yep.
And just a clarification question. Now, because okay, we all know, frameworks, funding bodies, we need to have a certain kind of like story or formula for that, and then there's the artistic work. And of course there's some overlap, but we also know this very well that we can frame the same thing in many different ways depending on like who are we talking to and why, so that is one level. And the other level is like the actual artistic core of your project and how it's relating in the like, socio-political field and artistic field. So now, right now, just to understand, do you still have to do some of this justification work towards your funding body for this cycle? Or is this right now off the table and are we really just focusing on the artistic work?
Now to the institution here because he represents Molina somehow. He's part of that framework. But I mean, as I say, I understand like no, I think now I mean, no, I think no. I think we are just in artistic process and we are free to create.
Yeah, because I think they're two different things, right? Mostly. I mean, I know this from my own work that they're very often two different things, So now focus on the yeah, on the artistic process and also like how I mean, like we said last time, to really try to tickle out like the kind of core motivations and ingredients of like your artistic process right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense. And I don't know if I should like add about the, like the how what I took like takeaways from the book.
Mm-hmm.
I think what things that I said, like the concrete examples like weaving or bacteria, that's something that I see like connected not anymore like directly to my work, but it's something that kind of like how to say like compose my view. So it's not
Mm-hmm.
like I don't know if we had this conversation with Jorge, like are we gonna do like weaving on the stage or not? That could be also fun, weaving or crochet or whatever. But it doesn't have to like necessarily be on the stage, but I know that it's part of it, of my life. But maybe like something very like actually something directly related is the Hydra,
Mm-hmm.
which is the live coding, because there is one quote from Ada that it's more like a negative sense. I think that she felt like, has different personalities and this like Hydra head that, she has like different, like multiple heads.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess it's like basically the live coding Hydra. It's something like takes the inspiration from like having like multiple head or like this collaboration or connectedness of people and computer and code. It's made by Olivia Jack. She's a brilliant person, not just as a programmer, but yeah, she really cares about the community. So the tool is not, built on top of this white male kind of narrative, but she really sees programming in a different way. I'm pretty sure she resonates a lot with the text as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt that's like a big like something like we have to reflect on, because that's something directly that's on the stage. The way we code, the way we use code is influenced by Hydra, and also we're influencing Hydra because I'm helping her for the development. Yeah, also like a kind of the idea of rhizome, that's also part of the text and Hydra. Maybe we could also think like, because we have this workshop part in the performance, so it's not just about two of us on the stage, but it's this like connectedness with the audience. It could be also online people or people we've encountered before. I think everything is like influencing us, and that's something that we carry on the stage or the practices.
And in a way, you are already weaving, right? It doesn't have to be so literal. You guys are weaving on stage. Like you are like weaving together, like, I don't know, context, like weaving and dissolving at the same time. Like, you are playing with all those things, and you are like live making a pattern or patterns. And so I think it's important also that it doesn't have to be so literal, but still that like that your relationship, I think you have a very complicated relationship to technology, I mean, and I think it's worth like really tickling out what that is, because I don't think with this, or I think it's impossible to read this work without especially like in this times where we are in right now, like people will read that into it whether you like it or not, so it's like it's a good thing to really have a very clear few sentences about it that really reflect your respective complex relationships with technology, and this is what Jorge said last time, this intentional misuse of technology, or intentional I don't know exactly how your wording was, but the intentional kind of yeah, not using it in the way it was meant to be used,
Yeah, I mean, in that aspect, maybe if I can reframe that, uh, which I guess is part, I mean, as my understanding of our intention is like trying to uh be friend with the machine, and so then go to a level there is not necessary master slave relation. That is the way how we use technology these days, but to slow down the pace, that's what I guess I was like mentioning, the pace is so relevant in this conversation, that the we slow down the processes to try to be on the mode on the same mode of existence as the machine, so then we are not in the slave relation. um and so I guess that's what we're doing in the practice in and but then the question is how to make that tangible to a certain extent for an outsider, because I guess we are doing that with Naoto, and we have embedded language. So we are in a process that we are trying to, I guess, put it out of the sandbox and try to find what points are maybe the relevant for us to share, and that could be in a literal manner. So an example could be, doesn't have, it's just an example that if weaving for certain reason is necessary for us to share, we don't deconstruct the weaving, but we just we do the weaving. So I'm saying this as an example that from the embedded language that we have now, so we need to start formalizing certain points that we might find relevant to share, and also to check with the audience in interaction if are we following through. Which I think also, I mean, from my practice, this is coming from my practice in working with technology for the last 6 years. In time, I start, I don't know if I shared that that's part of my conclusions, that the way of working through the construction, as I understood, I learned here in Europe, in deconstructing material to make it interesting, is not necessarily working when you use the intersection with technology, because deconstructing something so that the audience feel there is some cipher that the people must follow through in time, generate already an intellectual exercise that you put next to the understanding, also technological elements that the audience needs to interact with. It's an overloading of for the audience. So in my reflection, in my practice, I try to find through checking points. So trying to through design. I mean, I learned that through design to make things obvious. And so in easy way, like, so at the beginning, just simplify and use like clear language to say, this is gonna happen. It will last 1 hour, like trying to give checking points for the people to see if they're following through, and not just present something that is gonna be abstract. Or if the, yeah, I hope I'm being clear with that.
Yeah, I think, of course, the audience is very important, you know, and how things are perceived is very important. But for now, if you agree, I would like to wheel it back one step, you know, to really go to the essence of why you're doing what you're doing, you know, and to like, and what are the, like, okay, so it's already very helpful to have this, like the weaving or the design process or the multiple heads, or, you know, your sandbox, all those things we were already talking about. But I think it's really important to, like, I don't know, I think it's really important to figure out the core of, like, what's your relationship. And then in a later step also, because you have already so much material, it's really not, you know, that you don't have anything, but then to edit the material to kind of align with or harmonize with, you know, the core things that you want to transmit. And I think, I don't know, what has happened in this sense, I do think the engineer is a very interesting figure for you, you know, because the engineer is nearly like the executor of like a design principle, nor is the engineer like, you know, it's neither the master nor the slave, right? It's like a kind of entanglement with the machines. It's an extension of the mechanic webs, like much more beyond the machine. It's like an entanglement of the technological and programmatic webs of life somehow. And there I think it's really interesting to like, I think the movement, like, if you want to produce something, you know, in somebody else, obviously you produce it in yourself first. Like, so if you want like an unexpected things to happen, you know, in terms of movements or weaving unexpected patterns, you know, I think it's not so important that, you know, the audience can follow. What's important is that the vibe and the energy you have to those things is consistent with the core reasons of why you're doing what you're doing, beyond of what the frame, beyond of why you get the money or the funding, whatever it is that you're doing, you know. And will be super helpful in the editing process later, because then you can really edit from a very intuitive place, and at the same time have a really strong core where you're like, this makes sense, this makes less sense in this very moment, you know. And also working towards a structure that we said where you also don't know yet. You know already that not everywhere you're going to perform it, it's going to be exactly the same thing, also because of things that you cannot control. And even in things you can control, like you had questions around this, and how much do you improvise, how much do you play, all this. So it's clear that also for the structure for you to be able to like you because I think you were saying this, Jorge, that you feel uncomfortable when it's too much improvisation, or like when you don't know what's happening enough, but exactly this thing of like going back to your own core can be the kind of thing that gives you that can be the frame, like rather than, is it always the same sequence in which things are woven? Is it always the same? Like,
Mhm.
does that make
Yeah,
sense?
totally. And yeah, thanks for bringing up the engineer again, because that's something I actually had to talk, because my education, like first education, is engineering. And
Mm-hmm.
also my father is an engineer. And I think it's something like kind of like influenced by my father, but like we're kind of proud of being engineer and we're not programmers. And
Mm-hmm.
because there's like big distinction, because engineers, they know what is happening inside, what is happening as a system, but
Mm-hmm.
programmers are more like, I would say like handy person, but they know how to like make things happen, but not necessarily knowing what is the logic behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that applies to us as well, because we're not just putting like nice things on the stage, but we know what is, well, we try to understand what is happening, not just as it's not just a decoration that the tech is there, but we are working with it. We know, or we are trying to understand what is happening with the technology.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at least to me, that's like a big part of the work, not just as a best practices, but
But
in my
maybe
work.
if I can intervene, I was thinking that, so this is part also the reflection of the book. No, I think they use the word like following matter. I think flow of matter or following matter, and say like from the point of view so that we are technicians, so we work with matter, from that sense. From my experience in my practice, I mean, I mean, especially the research that I'm doing for 3 years with virtual reality, there is a research, so I have the time to reflect and try to formalize into words what is happening. It's from there that I drew upon these conclusions that I mean, the one that I shared before, to not use the same approach of dance and deconstruction. So another point that I found in my research is that there's a list of elements that before I start, so I have my practice, and before going into the practice, I need to have a list of elements that they are fundamental for me to go in the flow of just performing and dancing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, and this list of elements that must be ready are not static; they are always changing.
Mm-hmm.
But it could be so simple as I mean, could be technological, from like the screen must be turned on and maybe the brightness to this percentage, but also could be so simple as I need to have a coffee. Also, I need to have my sweater on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so it's the line between what is practical or what is personal is not there. It's just a list of elements that will I'm trying to bring this into what I need, say like what I need before I start going to the space of flow. Uh, and so there is a list of elements that by practicing, I know what I will need in the next practice. So it's only by practicing what I practice is that I know I might need to have the coffee. Was important to have it. I will not stop the practice, but I will remember when I finish. So the next day I will have a coffee before ready, and things like that. So that only come by practicing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to offer this as, for me, this is important for me to enter in a flow on the practice.
Like what you said, and also what you were saying before about the, you know, the with the audience and so on. I feel like probably like people think this as kind of like a choreographic score normally, but it also it sounds me more like a user manual or like instructions manual, like in a, you know, I'll try to like relate to tech, but also like it kind of feels like, you know, there's like a manual that you have to like follow, but also like not just like we buy this product and reading the manual, but we are actually building this product. So we have to write the manual on our own. So that's why it's constantly changing. But it feels, you know, this kind of like printed out and you have to follow from top to bottom. And maybe there's like different language on the other side.
I like that a lot. And what is this user manual for?
That's a good question. Is it for us or is it for the machine or?
Yeah, but beyond that, what is it a user? What is it? What is like? What is the user manual for? Is it like, I mean, for yourself, of course, like what Jorge is also saying, what do I need in order to be able to be in this situation, you know, but also in the sense of like a user manual for what? Is it a user manual for your, is it a user manual for your like physical and mental survival? Is it like a user manual for making a living? Is it a user manual for playing? Is it a user manual for a certain research question you're trying to investigate? You know,
I, I
what is the user manual for?
I found that is this is interesting you mentioned, because I mean the way how I see it is then the user manual for everything that is me. So I mean, yeah, so and that's anything. So then this is everything that you're saying and more. So all the possible states that yeah, all the multitudes that everything that can, yeah, everything. Yeah, I guess when I start having, I guess, friction with this idea somehow, I guess is in the exercise. I guess I just recognized in the process thought that I'm trying to, I guess, maximize somehow like what I'm doing, including right now. So then, for instance, I found liberating what you said. Like I put it in my notes, for instance, like to define encore, to not think right now if people are following or not. These are my notes. This free space for me, because I constantly, and then I'm trying to do the exercise when the things are coming formal or in a space that they are being shared with other ones. I'm trying to, I guess, do the best to my extent to do, yeah, to yeah, try to do the best I can to communicate something. So, and this comes from a personal place, but I think it's relevant to say that this is also in that that's what I mentioned, that it frees me space if I don't have to think in the responsibility of communicate with others, because then I start going, I guess, within an exercise that could be a black hole. Then I start feeling responsible for my agency and different play. I mean, and yeah, I'm feeling yeah, different things that from what I think I should do the best I can to honor my ancestors and other people that maybe don't have the voice that I can have in the places that I have right now. So, and then again, that's what I meant. That's what I mentioned. I think is relevant. So if I don't have
Sorry,
to go,
the call is ending now. So let's come back and yeah,
The same link, right?
same link. Yeah. And I need to
Okay.
just quickly go to the bathroom.
yeah, same.
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Just press this now again. in the wrong direction. Why is it doing this? Don't understand. Hello? Cat? Okay. Well, I guess I have to do this then.
May-
Yeah, that
Maybe
would work.
to run what I was saying, so like when coming back to this the manual, the user manual.
Yeah.
So I guess the user manual is for all me's as in plural. Yeah. And but that said, then I think that it will be if it's stay if the manual stays in this unlimited possibility, then I found there. I think this is yeah, this relation to make it tangible and formalized in order to communicate something, even within what I'm doing or with myself. It makes yeah, it makes the relation a bit of attention. But yeah, I guess that's the place where I am with the manual. No.
But I think just to be clear, because you almost say it like apologetically, it's personal, but that's exactly the level on which we are operating now, right? It's really like your personal vulnerabilities, insecurities, the things that you're struggling with, the thing why you're doing what you're doing, right? Which is probably there's some overlap between the two of you, but also probably there's some things that, are part of your manual, Jorge, that are not part of Naoto's manual. Okay. So it's like, that's okay. But I think it's exactly that place where we're like, and then from there, once we like really, because I remember us talking about this, and, I mean, because of course, like all the things you're struggling with, all the on a personal level that you're trying to find a form for in your work, of course they're all there. And I do think also looking at this, I mean, I can say it more with you because I know you a bit better. Like I know you better than I know Naoto. For me, a lot of stuff comes up also looking at the material you sent me, like from your mother, from your ancestors, from where you come from how like all from your health, from your playfulness, from your relationship to the body, like everything. It's like all there, right? So it's like it's extremely, I think that's exactly where I want to go. Like, what are those things, and to without like being like without immediately thinking, oh, is the work doing that, am I doing that, like to just write them down and see, where are we with this, like where is that, and then there's a next step and the next step. But like for now, I think that is really where we're at. So it's exactly this. Of course it's relevant what's happening on a personal level. It's of course relevant of also what you were saying now, to like that your father is already an engineer of it, like you have a lineage of how you are placed into this context, both of you. And I think it's really that's exactly what's important right now, I think, in this moment of the working process.
Yeah, it's interesting, like you said, it's different for each of us. But then I was also thinking, like, why? I mean, in a way, this user manual is like our common language, right? So that we can use that. I mean, we have this, it's not like we have different manuals, but we have a user manual that we share, but we interpret it in different ways. And I think that's how we work. It's actually the essence of like how we work, because it can be the user manual or the sandbox or the practice, but I mean, of course, we share, like Jorge and I, we share a lot in a personal level. We spend a lot of time together. I've been to Colombia, and I mean, we're not there together, but I've seen a lot of things that um, influenced him. And, but also like we have this kind of like work that when we work, we are kind of, in a way, it's like dissociated from us. And, but still we're like connected. And yeah, I don't know how this works. Like it's not, always like we're talking about our stories or, sharing struggles, but it's there. We don't address them, but we feel that somehow. And that's through the user manual or the practice or something that is in a way a little bit more like systematized or can be technical.
Mm-hmm. Was that too personal, Jorge? Is it okay to go there?
Yeah, of course, totally, totally.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Mm, also, I mean, uh, so I went to see a performance this Saturday. The one that I shared with you at some point. I was going to Annalena. Is the guy called
Mm-hmm.
Lucas. I don't. It was a rave of 6 hours,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the aspects where I could not endorse somehow the performance is that so there was this idea of the plot is an utopia, um but I cannot relate in an empathic way with the performance. So I was sharing in my thoughts with Naoto that the performance, so the idea of the utopia, I cannot relate to that because I don't have an entry empathic point to the creator. I don't know the creator, but maybe not necessarily has to be the creator, but maybe a contextualization of the piece. I don't have that entry point. So um, I'm mentioning this because I think it's relevant and being more conscious on that. The ethnographic aspects of in relation to work is relevant if we are trying to make a point. Say like in that case, there was the idea working on the utopia and then challenging capitalism, which is sounds as a noble idea, but I cannot relate to the work because of what I said. But that said, then bring me back to we are in a place that so I guess I don't feel clear what is the message I mean, oh yeah. I guess I cannot point exactly um what is this about, while in relation to what I just said, the work was trying to challenge capitalism in that way with utopia.
Mm-hmm.
But it's good that you brought that example up because so I didn't see that show, but Jorge sent me the information and I read through the text and saw some images and I kind of like guessed how it would look like, or I didn't see that it's very exciting in terms of the concept. And but basically Jorge said in his voice message, I totally agreed, although I didn't see the piece. And like already felt to me that like we shared a lot, that it's not that we have the same view, but we build a lot of like context between Jorge and me, and that's like already very rich. That but also it's sometimes tricky because we sometimes agree without thinking too much, and that could be a problem. But um and I guess that's why now we're like slowing down and trying to find why we've been working together so well.
But look, what you've been doing, to go back to the engineer, right? You've been like weaving a tapestry, like a relational tapestry between you and the machines you're using for many, many years, right? And it's really important also what you just said, Jorge, because I don't think it's about to understand what at this point it's not important why are we doing this, why are we doing that. That's not where we're going. I think where we're going is to really understand, okay, this figures of the engineers, right, that are like like what's also in the text, like the material stream can only be followed, right? Like it's like you're following some kind of material stream. Some of it is translated in the machines, some of it is translated in the energy, some of it is translated in the kind of in the relationships you have with each other, and this like kind of play sandbox that you've built, right? But it's really like this kind of and it's exactly what you're saying, because the relational fabric is real. Like the programs are real, whether we can see them or whether we can't see them, right? And so it's also like, and when you say, oh, I saw this piece and I didn't have an entrance point, because that's exactly what I think. I mean, both of you have this very, like, also as I wrote in the text, you have this quality of really being present, you know, and being there and playing with each other, and you can tell that it's not like a theater game that you're putting on, you know, which I think is really crucial. But it is, I think it's really important, like exactly this what you say, to I think if you are aware of the urgency, the pain, the vulnerability, the joy, the playfulness that thrives you in being there, you know, in being the engineers together, that is something that's translating far beyond of like, oh, does the audience now really get how Hydra works, you know? Or does the audience now really understand whatever this and this aspect of technology? There's something else that's being transmitted here. And I think, I don't know, I think on this level of like engineering, it's really interesting also to think about all the things that are always there that we don't see, and we cannot identify them, because what we can see and identify is always only this small part of a much larger relational fabric, right?
And it's good that you said the presence, because I think it's not just about like Jorge and me like working in the same place, but I guess it was already there when we started like on video calls, like
Mm-hmm.
in 4 years ago. Like we kept doing it for like almost like half a year, and then we met in real life. But I didn't feel like it's, or sometimes I feel like, you know, when we were calling online, it's more real than in real life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and obviously both of you haven't started from zero. You both, like Jorge was mentioning, and you were mentioning too, you're both connected to other lineages and continuation of lineages that, you know, that were already there before the two of you even knew that you existed, right? So it's like so I think it's yeah, to come back to this user manual, um and also this like, what are you engineering, and who are, and how is what you're doing engineering you, you know? Because it's also not like a, that's also the fascinating thing about the engineer, right? That neither is it's not just like you're executing something, it's also, it's executing, like you're entangled to the sense that it's also changing you, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it would be extremely helpful to have from each of you. And I think it would be very helpful that you do that without sharing it with each other. A kind of like 5 to 10 sentences of like, this needs to be part of my user manual, you know? And it would be really interesting to also look at this together next time, you know? To really be like, to see, okay, where is there like a very clear overlap, and where is there also like a branching out in different directions, and really work from a sense of like urgency um, and need also in a way, right? because I think it's true, like what you say. I mean, I didn't see this piece that you were saying, but I have this with like 90% of stuff I'm seeing, whether it's in the visual art, whether it's in performing art, that I'm just like, I can't relate. I can't find an entrance because it just seems like fabricated. It just seems designed. It just seems like removed from who is the human behind this, that, and what is this human driven by. I mean, this is like, let's also not forget, this is why we need culture also, right? Because we want to connect. In the end of the day, we all want to connect. That's what we want, right? And that's what culture gives us, like a framework for. And even if we dissociate, or if it's like alienating, it's still like a kind of, to kind of get the engines running so that somewhere else we're able to connect, so I think it's really essential to go to the core of what it is that connects you to this engineering work. Why are you doing this? Like, and it can be extremely small things, and it can also be like really big things, and none of them has to be justifiable. None of them it's not about, it's just for you. Like, it's just for you, the things to fall back on later in the process, or throughout the process, to like come back to what is my core, what is my like user manual, and also to come back to the cooking analogy, which I really love. I mean, I'm always saying this: what are the core ingredients of your dish that are like unnegotiable? Because it's like, you don't make a soup, by putting like 10 liters of water and then trying to get the flavor into the soup. That's not how you cook a soup. You cook a soup with the core ingredients, and then slowly, like, you expand the flavors, that you have like a flavorful thing. And also, another cooking analogy that I really like is like, you don't have like all the ingredients and then cluttered up with like tons of sauce, and like, it's not so that you have like a good looking dish. It's really about like, okay, can I actually taste the things that are in there, that are giving me this nourishment and this flavors to like. And so it's, in a way, you can say let's make this user manual, or we can also say let's make let's make the ingredient list without having to know what is the dish we're cooking, but to be like, it has to have tomatoes, it has to have this, this is like unnegotiable. And then maybe there's onions, maybe not, it doesn't matter, like, but to really focus on the things that, this is what absolutely needs to be part of my dish, and you don't have to justify this to anyone. Also, if you don't want to share the manual, you don't have to, but I think we can see how it's going. And I think it would be very interesting to compare these two ingredient lists. Like, maybe it's even a step before the manual. Maybe it's more like, I don't know how you call this, but when you are kind of like, it's almost a step before you're going to go and write the manual. Like, what are the things that absolutely need to be part of the manual in order so that I can actually write the manual? So maybe it's a bit weird to call it already a manual. It's more like the thing that needs to happen before.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally get it. I don't know how to put it into words, but
Yeah.
and I can see, like, you can say protocol or steps, but yeah, it's like it's a pre-manual. It should not have like a name, that because it will start to shape how it looks like.
Yeah.
To me.
Yeah.
I mean, especially because we work with machines now, so yeah. But yeah, I completely agree with that. Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, you work with machines, and you also work with yourself in relation to the machines, right?
Totally. Yeah, maybe like we can close and talk about like practical stuff, because I feel like very like motivated and nourished in a way, and I'm really like ready to like work on the to start thinking about the user manual, pre-user manual.
Yeah. Great. Sure. Is that cool for you too, Jorge?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's quite clear. Yep, yeah. Thanks for that. So practical stuff. First thing, when could we have a next call? When that would work for you, Danny?
Let me just check my calendar.